I am so excited to be here and to talk about pricing, because pricing is really your brand's or your company's superpower. That might sound excessive. That might sound like I'm overstating it, but hopefully by the end of this presentation, you'll agree with me. Pricing is about so much more than what your customers pay you. It's about why they pay you. You actually can use pricing to influence how your customers behave. You can make them behave in ways that benefit you. And that's what we're going to talk about here. And who doesn't love that? That's what we all need. And as a shameless plug, I will say that part of this is knowing how you want them to behave. In my workshop this afternoon, we're going to talk about how to think about your profitability and how to use pricing to do what's most profitable for you. But for now, we're going to assume that you have a sense of that. We're going to talk a little bit about it. This is all about how to get your customers to do what you would like them to do. So that sounds like a tall order for one poor little price. So let me just stop a moment and define what I mean by pricing. Talked about price and value. Those are two very different things. I love the way she talked about that. It's really important to keep those things in mind. So price is not value. Those are two related but different things. And pricing is different from the actual price that you charge for your product or service. Pricing is really, you have a pricing strategy, which reflects how you want your brand to be seen, how you position your product, how you compare yourselves to competitors, how you get viewed in the customer's eyes. There's also how you price in order to further and meet your operational business and profitability goals. That's really what I'm going to talk about here today. And then pricing structure is what elements you can use. We're going to go into this in more detail. In my mind, there are like lots of little levers, little buttons you can pull and tweak and to get the right pricing and to influence how your customers behave. Okay, so usually when we think about pricing, this is what we start talking about. It's just a very basic, people come in to score all the time and they say, I have a product, it costs me $20. And so I'm thinking, I've been told, often they say, I've been told that I'm going to double the price, or I'm going to mark it up 2.5 times. So it's a $20 item and I'm going to charge $50 for it. Or, Sylvia talked about comparing yourself to other service providers and not doing that. People will come in and say, I charge $50, everybody charges $50 for this service. Or one of the most dangerous ones in my mind is people who come in and say, I was a website designer, I was working for somebody else, and I was being billed out at $50 an hour, so I figure I can charge $35 and I'll do fine. These are good starting places, but this is the very, very beginning of the conversation. There's a lot more that goes into it, even when we think about just price. And remember, right now we're talking about price, not even pricing. So first off, we're going to talk about a bunch of the issues that come into pricing. And let me just, as an aside here, somebody converted my slides for me, and I noticed too late that it did sort of wonky things to some of the tables. So you will see a bunch of these tables that have some things with like lines around them and some things without. There is no secret messaging there. It's just a PowerPoint thing. Okay, so with that disclaimer, markup. I have a pencil. I mark it up 50 times. 50 times, I have a 98% margin. That is awesome. You know what? I still only made 98 cents. That is not enough. Alternatively, I have a car. I'm a used car dealer. Cars do not actually have very high margins. This is probably a high margin for a car, but it's an example. I only have a 25% markup. I have 20% margin on it. But every time I sell a car, I make $10,000. Okay. So what you're selling at what price point is the first thing that you have to think about. Obviously, what you need to do to be profitable selling pencils is very different from what you need to be profitable selling cars. And so how you price and how you think about everything that supports your price, your marketing, is going to differ depending on what you're selling. Another really important thing is your customers vary. Okay, even if you're selling the exact same product or service to two different people, it will be two very different sales with two very different characteristics. So perhaps I have a customer who just walks into the store, knows exactly what she wants, purchases it immediately and walks out. I said 25 minutes. It's probably even shorter than that. In and out, almost no impact on my time. She didn't need my time. She didn't need my staff's time. I got the sale. I'm done. Now I have another customer who loves my store, comes in all the time, is full of questions, is always talking to me, is talking to my staff. When she does finally purchase, it takes her a while to make up her mind. But when she does, gosh, she buys a lot. That is so great. That is so exciting. But that takes a lot more time. I want both of these customers, but I want to know what motivates them. And when I price to them, I want to price, obviously the actual product that each customer bought is probably the same product priced the same way. But when I think about special promotional programs that I want to run, when I think about loyalty cards, when I think about buy one, get one, or bundling products, and we're going to go into more detail on all of these things, I want to keep in mind that there are different customers, and I may want to incentivize one of these people more than the other. I also want to keep in mind that they have different value to me. Customer one may never come back. Customer two may tell all of her friends about me. So again, all of these things, there's a hugely different value, even in two sales that look the same. And I want to keep that in mind when I'm pricing. Another one is we talk a lot, and again, this is one of these slides that got messed up, about margin. And margin, of course, is important. If you don't make enough in gross profit, you don't have any money to cover your costs. That's where your business profits come from. So you cannot lose sight of margin, but it is only the beginning of the story. So again, I'm so glad that Sylvia talked about service businesses, because service businesses are really where pricing can go way off the rails and where there are a lot of things to consider that get lost. So let's say, for example, that you are a digital marketer and you have two very different products. I have a big product where I will really dig into your brand strategy and we will rework it and we will rework all of your collateral. And I'm going to charge you for it because I'm spending a lot more time. I'm adding a lot more value. And frankly, the dirty little secret is it doesn't take me quite as long as I want you to believe. So I make a good profit on that. But I have to go out to a lot of people to get that sale. I probably have to talk to 10 people for every one who ultimately becomes a customer. And we're going to go back and forth for weeks until you finally close. Now that's valuable. I don't want to lose sight of that, but that is one very different type of sale. And I'm probably going to have to negotiate a little or maybe do some structuring around that pricing. And it's back to some of the questions from Sylvia's session. I'm going to have to understand your scope of work and I'm going to be responsive to that. And there's going to be perhaps a lot more tailoring that goes into this pricing. So I need to keep that in mind. I have another baseline service. I will just look at your website and tell you what I think of it and recommend a couple tweaks to it. Hopefully it's a little more than that. It's not a very value-added, it's a hugely value-added service, but it's very specific in what I'm doing. I make a good profit on that, but it's both in terms of margin and in terms of the absolute dollars into my business, it's a lot less. But let's say that I can set that up so that you get pretty much all the information that you need off of my website. You don't need any of my time. And I'm going to price it in a very clear-cut way. There's no negotiation. I'm going to make it clear to you why you want this pricing, why this is valuable to you, and you take it or you don't. that's a very, very profitable sale to me. So as long as I've priced it correctly and supported it correctly, both of these things can be very profitable, but I need to know all of the support costs, and particularly selling, and you'll hear me say this a bunch in this presentation, selling costs are what people overlook time and time again. And it's not just selling. There are a lot of other costs in your business. For example, every time you make a sale, you may need to package it up, ship it. There may be other costs. Customer acquisition, just getting that customer in the door in the first place. And then we have administrative, overhead costs, all sorts of other things. Oh, sorry. And too often, those overhead costs get brushed aside as just overhead. Like there's nothing you can do about it, make it up in volume, but it's not. As long as you understand what goes into your overhead, you can think about how to price to offset some of those costs. Okay, now this one, luckily, Sylvia talked a whole lot about, and it's really, really important as well. You set the price, but your customer determines the value. The value is in your customer's eyes, and it's always really important to understand what your customer is seeing. So for example, let's say I provide some kind of I'm a consultant, I provide a service. The value that my customer sees, if that service allows them to immediately close a $100,000 deal, is different from what they see if over 2 years, their sales increased by $50,000 a year. They've still made the same $100,000 in a slightly different way. Or let's say my service may reduce a risk for them, a really important risk that won't hit them every time. But if it did, it would cost them $200,000 or $500,000. These have very different value propositions. For example, in the first one, if I'm really confident that I can help close that deal, I may want success-based pricing. I may want a percentage of the sale. I can position this now as being we all win. If I need to, I can put a retainer in so that I'm covered on my downside. But once I know what the customer sees the value of my service, I can price accordingly. Similarly, if I have a product that costs $500 and its main value is that it's cheaper than the $700 competitor, that's one thing. But if I'm the only provider of that product and there's a niche audience that really, really wants it, first of all, I probably can charge more than $500, but there may be other things I can do pricing wise. I may be able to incentivize them to buy a service from me now, or to buy sort of ongoing supplies for that, whatever my initial product was. I have this fancy broom, not broom, like floor cleaner. And now you can buy, my special floor cleaning fluid on an ongoing basis. And you really love my mop, and now I have you as an ongoing customer. So if I really know what's in it for you, I can start to figure out a way to price that makes it valuable to me as well. And it doesn't just stop there. You do want to understand what other prices, what other competitors charge, what your customers are used to paying. Now, a lot of this is written more for a business to business, a B2B business, but it applies to anything. If you have a business, particularly a business-oriented service, but an individual service as well, how are people used to paying for that? You may want that success-based pricing that I talked about, but it may just be too difficult. People aren't used to it. Or it may be so worth it to you that it's worth explaining to people why they should pay you that way. But you need to know what expectations you face going in. Again, especially in a B2B business, whose budget is paying you? Is somebody going to buy your service as an add-on, or are they going to need to replace something that came before? All of these things go into how you price. If it's a new product, you may want to offer some kind of incentive pricing. Try me out. If they're going to have to replace you, replace an existing service to take you on, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. If I'm an accountant, I'm not going to say, try my tax preparation. Because you're either going to use me or you're going to use somebody else. So I'm just undercutting myself if I give you some kind of incentive pricing. And the other thing is, it's so easy to focus on a single sale that you lose track of all the other things you're trying to do. So when we talk about pricing, we're really not talking about that one sale, that one price. We're talking about all the other things that pricing and prices do for you. Of course, it does set your branding and the perception of your business. But it also, you can price to drive sales of higher margin items. You can price to kind of upsell to, as long as the customer's in there, to get them to buy even more things. You can price to reduce uncertainty. You can price, like I said, you can have incentive pricing. You have a new service, it's harder with products, but it's not impossible. Get somebody to try it out because you know that once they try it, they'll love it. All of those things can be done. What you want to achieve with your pricing may in fact evolve over time, but the key is to have an idea of what it is you want. If you don't know what you want, pricing is not necessarily going to work for you. But if you know what you want, you can do an awful lot with it. Okay, so let's talk first about some strategies. I told you I was going to talk about detailed strategies. Let's dig a little into how you might be able to price a product. Now, the thing that everybody knows, or the thing that springs to mind, is promotions and discounts. Promotions and discounts are great. What they primarily do is they improve your sales efficiency, right? Because somebody knows, I want this particular jacket that's on sale this week. I can go in and I'm going to come in. I'm going to be that customer one from my first model. This person's going to come in. They're going to buy the jacket. They may or may not. Hopefully, you're hoping that they buy something else while they're there, but you can't promise. But that's great. I move the jacket. I'm done. Bundles, packages, subscriptions, and those are slightly different. I put them all into one line. They can increase your revenues by getting people to buy more, either more things than they intended to, or to keep purchasing for longer in the cases of a subscription. Sales efficiency, therefore, goes up. Now, that initial sale may be harder because I'm selling more things, but every subsequent thing that I sell, every addition to that package, every subsequent month of the subscription, I didn't have to sell it all. So averaged out over all of those sales, I've now got a very much more efficient sale. Operating efficiency can also go up. If I know what I'm selling, I can plan for it. I can also, with the bundle, some of that packaging, shipping, other things, those costs go down relative to my price. Razor and blade is, my mop and the refill liquid. I sell you one thing that hopefully is pretty profitable to me, but then I keep selling you some add-on. It increases my revenues, it increases my efficiency. It's the classic sale. Of course, it's not appropriate for every service or product, but it's a really good thing to keep in mind. And you'll notice over on the right-hand column, I have reduced uncertainty. We're going to talk about that a little bit later, but it's really important too. You don't think of uncertainty as something that's expensive to you, but it is. The more certain you are of your business, the more you can staff appropriately, the more you can purchase the right materials or the right supplies in the appropriate levels, maybe get some volume discounts for that, not have stranded supplies. There's a lot of value that comes with reducing uncertainty. An introductory price allows you to get that customer in the door, and more importantly, gets them trying the product. So it's going to initially decrease your revenues, in fact, because it will be less than what you could otherwise charge. But you're hopeful that you then get them into, you close some percentage of sales you wouldn't otherwise close. So overall, it becomes much more profitable for you. Add-ons and upsells are really great things. Every business, almost every business should have the ability to upsell, because that's the best thing. The customer is there, the customer is buying. What else can you add to that sale? It will enhance your profitability greatly. And then you can also price in some kind of either tiered pricing, which can give people a way of thinking about, oh, I don't, back to the digital marketer. That was an extreme version of tiered pricing, but maybe for that website design, I have tiered pricing. I have I'll just review it and send you a written document on, what I would improve. I will, my medium packages, I will review it, and then I will help you design new content for your homepage. And then the upper level product is I'll do that, and I'll do, 2 other services as well. That makes my sale more efficient because people know what they're getting. It actually is a way of explaining what my service is, because I now can know that person's now not going to come to me and ask 20 questions about, do you do this? Do you do that? Could you do the other thing? They know it from my pricing, and they'll choose the one that's right for them. So let's see how some of these strategies work in the real world. Let's say I have a retail store, and even within a store, different stores are going to have different objectives. So I want, all stores want to bring in new traffic, right? I can do a discount, as I mentioned, but that's kind of a broad brush. It doesn't necessarily bring in new customers, and that's what I want to do. What if I find a product that is either very popular, or maybe I am the only one who carries it, or I carry a distinctive version of it, or it's seasonal, or there's something else about that product that's really attractive. And I put a discount just on that, and I advertise that discount. Now I'm going to draw people who might not know about my store, or customers who are occasional customers who may now come in, they weren't intending to. I've got them in the door. Hopefully, again, I'm still hoping that I can upsell them, or that they will buy something else while they're in my store. But at any rate, I've more targeted the audience that I want. Another really popular one is some version of refer a friend, bring a friend. If I tell you, if you bring a friend, you both get a discount. Now I've doubled the number of people in the store. Yes, some of those people may already be my customers, but I've really improved my efficiency. Conversely, at really busy times, I may just want to get people in and out. If I pre-package or pre-bundle attractive things, I can really reduce my sales time. My sales staff is a fixed cost. I want to use them as efficiently as possible. They can move more volume. I can have more happy customers who get in and out with their holiday shopping much more quickly with a bundle. Similarly, if I do want to upsell, and as I said, always upsell, having those even packaged. Okay, you bought this mug. We sell it in a set for your whole family, or we also have this lovely, cute little set of cocos and teas that you can use. We think that makes a great gift packaged with your mugs. If I just want to increase sales volume, I can do things like say, stock up now for the winter, buy a full set of, whatever it is that, cookies now, so you don't have to go out in the middle of a snowstorm. I will sell them to you at a discount. Another way, and you see this all the time, and you're not perhaps even aware that that's what people are doing, is free delivery or some other service. So that incentivizes me to spend enough to offset the cost of the delivery, but it also makes me spend more. So let's say, on the other hand, I have a beauty product that I'm selling. I want people to keep buying that product. I can have a loyalty program. I can have, this is a classic example where, depending on the product, I may have a product and refill. I may do, shampoo that's refillable. And send me back the packaging. It's good for the environment. I can package it all kinds of different ways. If I want you to try other things, everybody loves my lipstick, but nobody uses my mascara. I can do a subscription where every month I'm going to send you your lipstick plus a couple other things you didn't know about. I can add a free sample, which is not really necessarily pricing, but it is a way of giving you a sense that you're getting more for your dollar, you, the customer, and for me, I get you to try something. offset fixed costs, up volume. Free shipping is a classic one. And let's say I need to move inventory. There's just some stuff that wasn't moving. I put it into a bundle. I can push it on a volume discount. There's all sorts of things I can do just to get rid of stuff that wasn't quite working the way I hoped. Okay, now to turn to similar approach to service pricing, I just really want to underscore something that Sylvia said, which is time is the thing that most service providers really, really underestimate. I loved when she talked about people being time broke, and I'm going to use that so much, but it's so true. Time is really that's what you're selling if you're in a service business. And you have to make sure that the most of your time is spent on the service that makes you money, not on selling, not on administration, because all those time, if you're charging $50 an hour or $100 an hour, the time that you spend billing or emailing to make sure that your hours are reported correctly, that costs you $100 an hour, even if it's only your own time, because it's time you could have been using to make $100 an hour. So, Sylvia talked a lot about, and I am a huge fan of, some kind of project-based or flat fee. It can be much more, it can increase your revenues. I was assuming in this case that it didn't, but it certainly can. Sylvia talked about some examples of that. It makes the sale more efficient, and it really, really makes the service much more efficient operationally, because I really don't have to track every hour and report it back and negotiate it with my client. It also reduces uncertainty. I'm doing 5 of these, they reach $1,000, it's $5,000. What if it comes in over? What if it comes in under? I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm going to make on it. I can plan accordingly. Similarly, if you can, with your service, some kind of a retainer or a recurring charge allows you to reduce the uncertainty. And again, anytime you get somebody to pay you again, it makes your sale much more efficient. So if I can price one service and going to the next one, add on another service, that makes my sale more efficient. I got you once, and sorry, that's the wrong terminology, but you loved my first service. If I can sell you something else, you're happy, you know me, and for me, I've got a much more efficient service. So it's very attractive to me to sell you that first service. Another thing that you can do, and then this goes back to really, really understanding your costs, there are a lot of services where actually providing the service doesn't cost that much, but there's a lot of upfront cost. So if I charge a recurring fee and it's going to take me 6 months to earn back my initial out-of-pocket costs, that's not a good model. I would rather try to see you come up with some kind of an upfront fee. Call it a training fee, call it an installation fee, call it whatever you can based on your service, so that you know your costs are covered. And then you can even lower your recurring charges, because now, knowing that your initial costs are covered, you don't have to price for all that uncertainty. From that point on, you've covered my costs. Any additional months that you pay me are profitable to me, and I know that. And then we talked a little bit about success-based, where you think you're adding a lot of value to your client. If it's something that's quantifiable, I would really consider trying to take a percentage of whatever value is created for your customer. So let's talk about a couple of strategies that we can use in real life examples. Let's say I have a yoga studio. I'm always looking for new customers. That is a key. That's where introductory pricing makes sense. I want to lower that barrier cost. I'm going to actually get slightly lower revenues that way than I would have. But if I get 1 or 2 customers who wouldn't have otherwise ever become my customer, they were put off by that initial pricing, then it's a win for sure. Bring a friend. As I said, I love refer a friend, bring a friend, anything like that. Because it's not only, that one's not only about pricing. Now you've also got a testimonial built into it. If I care enough to bring my friend to your yoga studio, I probably think it's pretty good. And we're both going to get a discount. Everybody wins. And you get, and I, the business owner, get a new customer. I want my customers, once I've gotten them, to return. So loyalty programs, monthly packages, get in shape for summer, you know, anything that you can work up that gets people to purchase a package, purchase ahead of time, gets them in the door more than once is valuable. Are there ways that you can upsell additional services? You come for yoga, but we also offer massages. And then there's capture value. Once I've got you in the door, can I sell you a private yoga? You know, can I bundle something where I will actually fold the price of today's service into a private session if you buy 2 private sessions? You've already paid that, you really loved it, but you'd like to work on something. Maybe I have special events that where, you know, I do a really high-end yoga program. All of these things, once I have you as the customer, I can price around this, but I have to know what it is I want. Similarly, we do see a lot of people in the service business. I tend to use digital marketing as an example, but any service business, you know, this is true of any service business. The first thing, as I said, is ease of sale. The amount of time you spend selling your service really, really matters. So getting people to buy quickly matters enormously. This is where some kind of packaging or tiered pricing really, really helps. Again, this works better for a less sophisticated service, but it's a good thing to know about. I tend to recommend that people have 3 tiers, too many, and it becomes too confusing. But it not only serves as, it makes it easy for the customer to buy your service, but it also advertises what different services you offer. So I may want to buy the medium priced tier, but I really like something that's in that upper price tier. I may now have just incentivized not only that initial sale, but an upsell, right? Because now I may come back and say, listen, I don't want the highest price tier, but I'd really like to engage you for just that one service. So that's an example of upselling. It's always good and valuable. It also, I want to talk about my operating efficiency, right? So again, if I package, I'm going to know what goes into that. I'm going to know what consultants I need to use. If I use a logo designer, or if I use a photographer, if there are other professionals or other costs that I'm going to have, I can price. Putting things into a project or into a package helps me understand that I've offset those costs. And I can make sure that I'm always going to be covered that way. And I talked again about capturing value. If there is a way, I'm going to design a website for you, or a promotional campaign for you for a particular new product launch. If I really know I'm going to knock it out of the park, perhaps I want to take some percentage of the incremental sales. I can track those sales.
Thank you, everyone.